Hey everybody, Ryan Sternagel, co-host of the Toxic Home Transformation alongside Robin Openshaw, and I am also co-founder of the Stern Method and the Integrative Answers to Cancer podcast, and I am co-founder along with my lovely, much better half, Teddy Sternagel.
Hey everyone, welcome to our house here in the middle of the woods, in the middle of the mountains. Right behind us is the healthy home that we've been building and putting hopefully everything that you've been learning into action ourselves. We've had this property for almost 4 years now.
Almost 4 years, yeah.
And we got it just shortly after moving here to Utah, right after Ryder was diagnosed with cancer. And so this property is really special to us. And we came here all the time with Ryder and the backpack, walking around, and we just always felt like there was just something really special and really healing about this place. And come to find out through all of our research, there is something special about living in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, so early on I was looking for any way to boost the immune system, because that's the ultimate defense or the ultimate attack against cancer, really, is the body's own immune system. And I stumbled onto the Japanese forest bathing studies. The Japanese always call everything like so much cooler names than we do in America, but I mean, forest bathing is just time in the woods. They did all these studies on what happens to the immune system after spending time in the woods, and it massively skyrockets the human immune system just by spending time in nature, and all sorts of other markers of wellness as well, just lower blood pressure and all that sort of stuff. But so that's why we've always made a point to, no matter what's going on in our lives, no matter where we've been at with treatment or whatever, we always got Ryder outside into nature no matter what was going on. That was on the schedule. And so just now finally getting to have our home in the middle of nature, where we can just walk outside anytime and be surrounded in it, is it's a dream come true.
It is. So hopefully we'll be moving into this house within the next few weeks. We've been saying that for at least a few months now, but we're really excited to show you what we have done in this house to make it a healthy house, and we'll take you through some of that now. So come along and let's show you what we've done to make this house a healthy house. But wait, before we do, we have to show you a little bit more of this property and why we love it so much. So the nearest cell phone tower is well over 2 miles away in that direction there, but we've measured it. It's really hard to see, but you just have mountains in the background. The nearest house to us, it's basically up there on that ridge. And then right over here, this pad here is going to be a geodesic greenhouse that was so generously donated to us by an organization that just wants to be anonymous. And so we should have that up soon as well. And that's where we're going to be able to grow all of our own food, because out here the wildlife is abundant, and your garden definitely needs to be protected. But the other benefit of the geodesic dome is that it lets us grow year-round. And I don't know if you can hear it on the camera, but the birds are so loud here, and it's just such a peaceful sound. That's one of my favorite things here.
Yeah.
All right, guys, come inside and we'll show you around.
This is our air setup, and this is one of the things that we're most excited about in this house, bar none. We spared no expense, so to speak. There's definitely been places where we've had to, make choices and not get the most expensive thing, but as we've learned throughout the summit, this really is everything, is your air quality. So we wanted to make sure that we were doing everything we could here. So this is really cool. So this is the Solace RS4 whole house filter. So this is literally filtering the air that's going into the whole house, and it is the Rolls-Royce of whole home air filters. Andy Pace, our building biologist from the Green Design Center, who you saw on the summit, who Robin interviewed, this is his highest recommendation, without a doubt, no questions asked. He tests all of this stuff for himself, and he's heads over heels for it, so that was good enough for us. But it, down to the smallest particle size, just VOCs, chemicals, whatever's floating around in the air. This is going to take the most out of any home air filter on the market. At least, you know, I'm taking Andy's word for it, but I did do a lot of research on it myself, and that's certainly what it seems. And in addition, it has these germicidal UV lamps in there that actually kill any pathogen, any virus, bacteria, that sort of thing that goes by it. Not only is it getting filtered, but it's also getting killed by the lamp. So you can be double sure that nothing of that sort is going to be in the air. And here is here's our furnace, and it's a Bryant furnace, and it's the Bryant. It's either Evo or Evolution. I think it's Evolution. So it's the Bryant Evolution furnace, and what's really cool about this furnace is it has a variable speed motor on it. So what that allows it to do is run continuously at a very, very, very low speed, so much so that it's not really taking much energy, but what that's doing is allowing the air to be continually moving. So literally at all times there will be air moving through this filter in the house, because you know we don't have air conditioning here. There's no need for it. In the summer it doesn't get that hot up in the mountains. So we would have this Rolls Royce of air filters, and it would never really be being used throughout the summer because you know it needs air passing through it from the furnace to be filtering air. So if it has this variable speed motor on it, which it does, now it's going to be the air is going to be continually circulated at all times, and so it's always going to be filtering the air in our house. What we also put on it's an addition, but what we also put on the furnace is an air exchange system, and I think this is called an energy recovery ventilator, if I remember the technical term. But the broader term is an air exchange, and what that does is in addition to continuously filtering the house, it's also, the air exchange is bringing fresh air into the house at all times. Usually, you know, the air is just being circulated inside the house. There's not new air coming in. The air exchange system actually brings new air into the house at all times. And being out here in the mountains, surrounded by trees, no cars driving by, no other houses really even around us, it's perfect because we're going to be getting that fresh mountain air, all the polyphenols from the trees. Everything, we'll be breathing that in, not only every time we step outside, but even as we're living in our home. So we are really, really excited about this setup.
So living out here in the middle of nowhere, we had to drill a well for our water supply. We were hoping to get lucky and strike water at 150 feet, but unfortunately it didn't happen. We actually dug to 400 feet. And our well driller, who was awesome, was like, look, we have found a little bit of water. It's not quite what the standard trickle rate is, but it'll get you through if you get a water holding tank. What do you want us to do? And we were like, well, if we're already at 400 feet and this is what we've gotten, and you're pretty much paying by the foot, although our driller was more than fair, we decided to go that route, get a tank so that we would always have a water supply in our house. So basically, this is a 500-gallon holding tank for water. This is going to always have 500 gallons of water in it that will be coming in from the well. So when we're running our showers and our faucets and using water, it will be coming from here versus directly from the well. And if something were to happen and our well were to dry up, which would be terrible, at least we would have a week's worth while we figured out what we had to do. So you might notice, or it might be hard to tell, but this water holding tank isn't what a typical holding tank would be made out of. We found one that's stainless steel. Most of the holding tanks are plastic and they're quite a bit cheaper. You're talking hundreds of dollars versus, I believe this did cost us around $2,500, and we had to have it shipped in from Texas where it was manufactured. But this is one of the most important elements to healthy living in your home, and we knew that we just didn't want our water supply to be sitting in plastic. So doing the research and finding a tank that wouldn't be leaching hormone disrupting chemicals into our water supply was super important, and that is what brought us to purchasing this beauty.
And this is our whole home water filter. Not set up yet, but it will be soon. We are so excited to finally have every drop of water in our house that we will come in contact with be filtered. It's been a long time in the making. As you know, we've been using our RO system, remineralized, for our drinking water. We've been using shower filters and that sort of thing, and that's been great, but it doesn't take into account the dishwasher, what we're eating and drinking out of and off of. It doesn't take into account the washing machine, what's going on our clothes. It doesn't take into account the bathroom sinks when we're brushing our teeth, all that good stuff. So we are really excited to finally have the whole house be filtered. We also have a water softener because here in Utah the water tends to be really hard. There's a lot of minerals in it. You want some minerals in your water, just not as many as are here. And we don't have some of the concerns that some houses would have because we actually do have our own well. So, we don't have to deal with the chlorine and the chloramines and that sort of thing, but we still have, just with the state of the world today, you don't know what's in the groundwater, so we're still taking water filtration very seriously. So we got the Aquasana Well Water Rhino, I believe is the make and model, and we got it specifically because it is specific for well water. It's got some UV lamps on there. Same as our air filter, same kind of technology that it can kill any sort of pathogen, virus, bacteria, that sort of thing. If we had to do it all over again, I probably actually would go with the Synergy Science whole home filter. We use the Echo hydrogen enriched water machine. I did not know that Synergy also makes their own whole home filter, and after talking to the owner, Paul Barriatero, about that technology, I think I probably would get theirs and maybe add a UV lamp to make myself feel better. All that being said, Aquasana is a great brand. We're not really upset about it or anything like that. And Andy Pace, our building biologist, actually does recommend Aquasana. He tests the water that comes out of that thing, and it tests clean. So we're happy with where we're at, and that's what's going on with the water. And here we have our bedroom electric kill switches. So as we learned about in the interview with Dr. McCullough, I can think of at least offhand, the wiring in your walls even can emit a field that is undesirable. It messes with your body's own natural energy levels. And where you are spending the most time just right kind of close by a wall is in your bedroom at night when you're sleeping. And that's also the most important time to not be getting that energetic interference, because you want the most restorative sleep possible, and when you're not getting that interference, that's how you get the most restorative sleep possible. So we did do something to address this with the wiring itself, which we'll talk about in the building materials section, but we didn't want to take any chances. We didn't want to mess around. This is so easy to do on construction, and this is actually the nice thing about, we're sitting here talking about our new house, which it is easier to do a lot of this stuff when you're building a new house. But this is actually something that's fairly easy for an electrician to come in and do after the fact, is install a kill switch like this. So what this does is this actually shuts off power to the whole bedroom. So at night, the last thing we do before we come in here and close the door or whatever will be to flip this switch, and that will kill power to the bedroom entirely. So we'll be sleeping in an outside electric interference free zone. And like I said, we're building our house right now, but this is, I talked to my electrician about it, this is not something hard to do on an existing house. You'll have to pay, maybe a couple hours worth of labor for an electrician, which, when you think about the benefits of everything we've learned about with energetic interference, especially during sleep, well worth the money to have an electrician spend a couple hours doing this. And we did this for every bedroom. Our bedroom, our kids' bedroom, the guest bedroom. We want everyone in this house to be sleeping in the most energetically peaceful zone possible.
Because we don't use Wi-Fi for the EMFs, we have hardwired Ethernet through our entire house. So similar to the house that we've been renting where we hardwired everything, but you see wires just running across the wall. Because we were building, we could actually put some forethought into it and put the Ethernet cables inside of the walls and put Ethernet outlets any space that we thought that we might want to use the internet. So right now we're sitting in the kitchen and I have an Ethernet outlet here so that I can use my computer and be in the kitchen and kind of the community space here. We have lots of other outlets throughout the whole house because who knows where we might want the internet, and this way we don't have to have wires just going, up and through the walls, which isn't bad. It's what we've done for the last almost 4 years, but this is definitely nice to have them tucked away, and it's all aesthetic and we've lived with it. But if you're building a house, putting the Ethernet cables and specifically shielded wire Ethernet cables into the wall is the way to go.
And I don't think Teddy mentioned, but when you are buying Ethernet cables, whether it's for building a new house or just for using around your existing house, like we've been telling you can do, just wiring straight from your router up the wall, across the ceiling, down to wherever your computer is. When you are buying Ethernet cables, make sure they are shielded Ethernet cables. Same sort of thing as the electrical wiring in your house. Ethernet cables can emit a bit of an electric field. It's not nearly as much as electric wires themselves, but it is something. And a shielded Ethernet cable is not much more expensive than a regular Ethernet cable, so it just makes sense to do. In a shielded Ethernet cable, it looks exactly the same as a non-shielded regular Ethernet cable. It's just underneath that blue plastic outer layer is a little layer of foil that basically just protects from that electric field getting emitted.
So up here is our electrical station, and as you can see, we have it off of the house. Typically these meters are actually sitting on the house, but we really wanted it as far away as possible. But we have it right here. It's right up against our property line. And another thing is, this is not a smart meter. This is the old-fashioned kind of meter that somebody will actually have to drive onto our property to get the readings for, and we are paying an additional $30 a month so that we can have this meter because they're charging us the extra manpower to get up here, and we are totally okay with that because this is not putting EMFs into our house like a smart meter, which is just constantly pushing frequencies into your house, taking measurements, taking readings of the amount of power that you're using. Whereas this, on the other hand, is not doing that, and that's why somebody actually has to come onto the property to take the readings. Not every power company has an opt-out program, but if you do have a smart meter on your house, please at least call your power company and find out. If not, they do make smart meter shields that you can look into, but nothing is better than just not having a smart meter at all. And if you can get it away from your house, even better.
And this right here is something that we are incredibly excited to have in our house and very grateful for, and that is, it's called shielded wiring, or MC cable is, I think, the proper industry term, and that stands for metal clad cable. But this is the electrical wiring that runs through the whole house. And as we've learned about in interviews with Dr. McCullough and others, the electrical wiring inside of most homes can emit their own electric fields that disrupt your natural energetic energy, so to speak, like we were talking about with the electric kill switches. But this is what we actually use for the wiring in our whole house, and since it is metal clad, since it's shielded, this metal shielding is shielding any electric fields that's basically keeping them inside of the tube here. So we're really excited to have this, and it is actually significantly more expensive. The wiring itself is more expensive, and the labor to install it is more expensive. And we were having a really hard time getting this into the budget, but we reached out to a few people, and fortunately, I was just riding around asking for discounts. What we've learned throughout our whole health journey is, if you're trying to make something happen, just ask and see what happens. And Encore Wire, we're so grateful to Encore Wire. They actually ended up donating this whole house's worth of wire to us, and we cannot begin to thank them enough. Encore Wire is awesome, but if you are building your own home, this is something I would, highly recommend getting in the budget. If we had, if we had planned better, it would have been in the budget. We just didn't realize how much this stuff was going to cost, but we made it happen all the same, and we got it in here, and we're so grateful for it. So again, that's MC cable, shielded wiring. I think another term for it is BX cable. I don't know what that one stands for, but it's all the same stuff. You want this metal shielded wire, and if you are going to get metal shielded wire, do the folks at Encore Wire a favor and get it from them and pay them back for their kindness, because they're awesome. Here we are in Teddy and I's bedroom to talk about drywall and mudding. So we're really excited to have a log home with just wood on the entire exterior of the home, but that did not account for the interior. So I think the absolute best options that we would have gotten if cost was just not a factor would either be some sort of like more wood, because wood is wood and that's about the safest thing you could trust, or there's a material called magnesium oxide, which is used for flooring, it's used for walls and that sort of thing, and that's another great option, but both of those were just completely out of the budget to us. So we do have kind of standard drywall in here, but within standard drywall there are differences, things to look for. So drywall is made from a material called gypsum. And gypsum is actually a natural material that's mined out of the earth, and it's inert. It's not toxic or anything like that. But the problem with some drywalls is they use synthetic gypsum, and what synthetic gypsum comes from is it's actually a byproduct of coal-powered plants, I believe, and they're kind of using the waste to make this synthetic gypsum. So that stuff. It's still not terrible to my understanding, but it's certainly not perfect. It does have some off-gassing of VOCs, volatile organic compounds, and you want to stay away from that. So this drywall is by a manufacturer called Certainteed, Certainteed, which is T-E-E-D, and they actually make our insulation, which we'll talk about soon, but it's kind of funny because Certainteed, their drywall, it depends on which plant you get it from, actually. So the plant, their manufacturing plant in Seattle, uses all naturally mined gypsum, and it is Green Guard certified. So Green Guard, they evaluate VOCs and off-gassing of building materials. That's one of the main things they do. The sheetrock, the drywall coming out of the Seattle plant for Certainteed is Green Guard certified, whereas I think it's their Virginia plant, they use purely the synthetic stuff. And the ironic part is, and it's not Green Guard certified, the ironic part is that they market that as sustainable because they're not mining more stuff out of the earth. And, while that's all well and good that it's sustainable, I think one thing we've really learned is that just because it's may or may not be good for the earth, when you dig down deeper on a lot of these things, they're still not really good for the planet, but it's certainly not good to have inside your home. So what you want to do is look for Green Guard certified products. And that brings us to the mudding that we use. So you have the drywall. It comes in big just sheets, more or less, and then to kind of give it this whole finished look, and so it's not just there's no lines or anything like that. That's where the mud comes in, and that stuff is it can be toxic. We actually had a mix-up in ordering, and we ordered the conventional. We didn't order it, but our drywall guys ordered the just regular stuff, not knowing that we wanted something different. And I actually looked at the packaging on it, and right there on the packaging it says can cause cancer with inhalation. And the argument is that it's just the dust, and once it's dried, there's no worry, that sort of thing. But looking around this place, there is dust everywhere from this stuff, and I do not think that we're going to do our best and scrub everything down, even though we're using the non-toxic stuff. but I do not think that we're going to get rid of every speck of dust in this house. So it was important to us that we got the stuff that can cause cancer on the label. And what that is, it's a brand called Murco, which is Murco. And it's their M100 series, I believe. M as in Mary, 100. That's the non-toxic, hypoallergenic mudding. And they're pretty much the only ones in the country that make non-toxic drywall mud, and unfortunately they're not even distributed in every state. We had to pay a pretty hefty shipping fee just to get it here, but it was still worth it to us, just so we know that we're doing everything we can, because and we're glad that we did, because like I said, this dust is everywhere, and we're going to do our best, but I'm sure we are going to be breathing some of it in. So yeah, it's one less thing to worry about is the drywall and the mud. So that's what's going on with drywall and mud. Again, this is an area that we couldn't just do the absolute best thing we wanted due to budget. Maybe sometime down the road, if we're doing better, we'll swap everything out. Who knows? But for now, we're happy with where we're at with the budget that we had, making do. All right, now we get to talk about another favorite product of mine, and this has been a labor of love for me because I've actually been applying it myself, and that is a product called Callowell. So we're here in the kitchen, and as you can see, they've started getting the tongue and groove ceiling in here, but where they are not finished, if you can see it, you can see that the underside of the second story subfloor material is kind of a thin white, and I've been literally painting this stuff on. And what Callowell does is its main function is protecting against mold. So we did get some water, some snow in here actually. We started building right before winter hit, and we didn't get the roof on quite before snow fell, so we did get some snow on the floors. It dried out really well. I'm not really concerned about it being damp in here or anything like that, but just you can never be too sure. And even if we didn't get any snow on it, I still would be applying this stuff because mold's a big deal, and you don't want, you want to do everything you can to make sure you don't get mold in your house. So what Callowell does is it actually raises the pH of the building material so high that mold is literally incapable of forming on such an alkaline surface. It's a really interesting science, and it's completely non-toxic, all that good stuff, because they're concerned with this sort of thing. And on that note, the other thing that Callowell does is it actually seals in formaldehyde off-gassing from building materials as well. That's actually something really important to us as well. There's another product that people use for that sort of thing called Safe Seal, and that's by a brand called Safe Coat, and that's probably who we'll use for the paint on the wall itself, because they're kind of the granddaddy, the original non-toxic paint company. They've been at it the longest, and they actually got their start making a product called Safe Seal. And Safe Seal is specifically for sealing in formaldehyde off-gassing. And Safe Seal, I believe, is 98% effective in sealing in formaldehyde off-gassing. Callowell is 94%, I want to say, effective in sealing in formaldehyde off-gassing. But the other thing that it does, like I said, the main thing that we got it for is also sealing in, not allowing mold to grow. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. The second floor here is a non off-gassing plywood. We did have an oversight on the first floor, and this was really our first big lesson in construction. You need to be on top of every new thing, and you need to tell your contractor, don't put any new thing in until you let us know about it and we can review it or whatever, because we hadn't even thought about subfloors yet, or we hadn't had that discussion. One day, we had an OSB subfloor for our main floor, and it was too late to take out at that point. So we're not, again, it would be nicer if we had the non-off-gassing, non-formaldehyde plywood that we have on the second floor, but you know what? That's the kids' floor, so we're definitely grateful that if it was going to be on one floor that we had the better material, that it was on the kids' floor. But for the main floor, we are going to just drench it in this Callowell, and we're happy with it. Again, our building biologist, Andy, he can't get enough of this stuff, and he's tested the off-gassing himself, and it is that effective in sealing and off-gassing. So this is our insulation. So we don't need to worry about insulation on the outside, all the outside walls of the house, because it's just logs and they are kind of their own insulator, which is awesome. But for the ceiling and for the basement, we did need insulation. And so the big problem with insulation, with a lot of standard insulations, is that they off-gas formaldehyde. Like most standard building materials, insulation is a big off-gasser of formaldehyde. And there are a couple companies, they're not like kind of specialty eco-friendly companies or anything like that. They're the same companies that are making the standard type of insulation, but there are companies now that are rolling out their own formaldehyde-free versions of insulation. So this is CertainTeed is the manufacturer. They're a huge building manufacturer. They're a huge building material manufacturer. They make roofing. They make insulation. They make drywall. All sorts of stuff. But they as of late have actually come out with a formaldehyde-free version of their insulation. And the craziest part, I can't believe that it's just not used anywhere, because I think this was an extra $300 or $400 for, when you think about insulation that will off-gas literal formaldehyde or insulation that will not off-gas formaldehyde. The $300 or $400 was definitely worth it to us. So that's what we got. I forget what the actual product name is, but if you just go on the CertainTeed website and click around, you'll see they have a formaldehyde-free version. They're pretty proud of it, as they should be. So as you can see, with enough demand, this is where things start to change. CertainTeed is a huge building material manufacturer making all the regular stuff, but they've seen the demand for non-toxic building materials. What do you know? And so they're responding to the demand. So that's what we try to tell everyone. That's what this whole summit is about, is just demand better from everything. And in your building materials is just another one of those things. And we're grateful that, CertainTeed is now making a formaldehyde-free version, and that's what we got.
This giant shipment behind me are the floors that we ordered for the whole house, including the decking material. And we got all of this from Cali Bamboo's website, and this is the Cali Vinyl product, which is their cheapest product. But we knew that we didn't want any carpet throughout the house. Carpet off gases, and wool carpet is super expensive. Not to mention, I just didn't want to go through cleaning carpet. So we chose hard floors, but as you guys know, hard floors can be a little bit pricier, but fortunately, working with a building biologist, working with Andy from the Green Design Center, we were able to find floors that fit into our budget from Cali Bamboo. So the Cali Vinyl line was around $2.99 a square foot, which is a great deal, and it's basically they print the design so it looks a lot like hardwood. It's actually really nice looking flooring, and it's low VOC, and Andy tested it. It does not off-gas formaldehyde like so many of the floors that claim low VOC really do. So it's a great, healthy, non-toxic floor option that looks great, and there's different colors. So for us living in a log house, we wanted something a little bit more rustic, so we went with the mesquite color, which is really cool, and I'm excited to see what it looks like actually in the house. We just got it shipped. So basically everything you see behind me, all of these boxes, are all of our floors, which hopefully will be going in the next couple weeks.